श्रीमान वेंकटनाथार्य कवितार्किक केसरी वेदांताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदाकृते श्रीवासरंगपरकालमुनित्रयाप्तलक्ष्माद्भरक्षणयतित्युगागमान्तम् आचार्यभक्तिपरिपूतमनर्गशीलं गोपालदेशिकमुनिं गुरुमाश्रयामः। पराशरमुनिं वन्दे कृतपौर्वान्निकक्रियं मैत्रेयपरिबभ्रच्य प्रणिबध्याभिवाद्य च। We are extremely fortunate and blessed to even come across this wonderful narration from sage Parasara to sage Maitreya in the form of Vishnu Puranam. It is supposed to be the most wonderful and Purana Ratnam. It is the gem among all Puranas, and it is the Sattvika Purana, one of the 6 Sattvika Puranas. Those who are blessed to listen to these stories, this Vishnu Puranam, would be completely blessed with all auspiciousness sage Parasara mentions. I request each one of you to mute so that it does not cause disturbance. So last week we saw Krishna's avataram and also Putana Samharam. Putana was sent by Kamsa, the demon, to kill the Kutti Krishna, the baby Krishna. And Putana came in the role of Yashoda. So when Kamsa heard about the Putana's death, Putana killed by the little baby who sucked the poisonous milk along with the life of Putana. He immediately realized and found out that this child has got superhuman strength and it is present at Gokula. It's going to come after me, he knows, as per the Ashariri which he heard during the Devaki Kalyanam, his sister's marriage. So he started sending the Asuras one after the other to Gokula to target Lord Krishna. So the little baby was lying down and he was crying for milk, and Yashoda was busy in the kitchen. So he was kicking his feet, little feet, up and down because he was cranky, he was hungry. And Kamsa had ordered an Asuran called Muran, so Muran, to kill Lord Krishna. The Gokula residents, Ayarkula Makkal, the cowherd folks, they were all preparing for the baby ceremony, Punyavajanam or Uttanam, whatever. So there was a function for Krishna. So it was customary to place the little baby under the shade of a cart. So the Vandi, Vandi Chakram, in between the wheel, they are supposed to keep the baby below the cart during the day of that function. So the people believed that the old carts, the old bullock carts, would remove the evil spirit from the baby, so that the baby will be auspicious, the baby will be showered with blessings from everyone, and the baby will have mangalams. So that is why they kept the baby below the cart, next to the wheel. So the Muran, the Asuran, took the form of one of the wheels called Shakata Asuran. So the Asuran now took the form of the wheel, and Yashoda left baby Krishna under that cart, and as soon as she left, she went for some work, household chores. Krishna woke up and he began to cry. He kicked again with his legs up and down, and one of his little beautiful cute red lotus feet gently touched the Chakatasura, the Muran. There was a loud crash because the axle broke. The stick which they insert to keep the wheel intact with the cart, it broke, and the wheel completely dislocated from the cart, and the wheel fell down with a thud on the ground, broken into bits and pieces. And Krishna thus removed the Chakatasuran from this earth by just his mere touch when he was a baby. When Putana was killed, she fell down in her original form, and the people of Gokulam had to dismember her body parts to take the huge body to be cremated. But when this Asura, Chakatasura, when he was killed, there was no sign of Asura's body. Asuras like Putana and Chakatasura had to chant a mantra in their minds to retain the form which they had assumed. When they are dying, as they are unable to chant the mantra, they regain their original form. But there was no sign of Muran's body. That's because Krishna had used his feet, touched with his feet, to kill Chakatasuran. The demon obtained moksham because he was touched by the Lord's lotus feet, and hence he was given all mangalams. So the moment he came in contact with Krishna's feet, the demon's body turned into the Shuddha Sattvam, the pure transcendental mode of purity. So it too was transported to Sri Vaikuntham, and Krishna's feet had purified even the demon's body. That's the glory of Perumal's lotus feet. Kannan Kalalinai Nannum Manamudayir Yennum Tirunamam Tinnam Naraname, Sage Nammalvar says. We just recited Kanninun Charittambu on Nammalvar, composed by Madhurakavi Alvar. So that's the glory of Kannan Tiruvadi, Perumal's Tiruvadi. And Krishna and Balarama grew up, they became very naughty. They played by pulling the tail of calves and entertained the people of Gokulam. So Yashoda, one day she was churning butter. When Krishna wanted to help her, she allowed Krishna to hold the churned ropes while she guided him to churn the butter. She held his hand, both hands, and started churning. So Krishna was excited. After a while, Krishna said, I am feeling hungry. So Yashoda allowed him to nurse while she continued churning, because she was breastfeeding him. So at this moment she realized that she had to take the milk off the stove because the milk was boiling. It will soon spill over. So she had to keep the Krishna on the floor, who was drinking milk from her breast, and she hurried to the kitchen. Krishna obviously was annoyed, because why did you keep me down when I was drinking? Feeling frustrated, annoyed, because the mother had left him alone, he broke the pot of curd which was churning with a stone, and he ran away from there. Before leaving, he took some butter in his hand from the broken piece of pot. So in the Narayaniyam, Swami Bhattatri enjoys this scene and sings that Lord Krishna broke the pot with the churned stick. But Srimad Bhagavatam says Lord Krishna hit the pot with a stone. Whatever. The thing is, the pot was broken. Krishna broke it. So Lord Guruvayurappan, actually it seems, accepted Bhattatri Slokam, but confirmed that he broke with a stone. Lord Guruvayurappan informed the critics that he liked the idea of pot with a stick. Even though he broke the pot with a stone, he enjoyed Bhattatri's Anubhava. And so Krishna must have said, in the next Kalpam, when I take again the Dasavataram, I will hit the pot with a stick, he must have said. So Yashoda now hurried back to the pot, and she found, because she heard a loud noise of the pot broken. To her dismay, to her shock, she noticed that the pot has been broken. She spotted the Krishna's feet with butter, because he had stepped with butter. Before running away, she followed the footprints and located Krishna in the corner of a small room, where he was standing next to the tall unused stone mortar. Mortar is ural. So the mortar, Krishna was there next to the mortar, and he was feeding the butter to monkeys. 3-4 monkeys were there. Yashoda was overcome with terrible anger. She said to herself, I need to discipline my baby. She decided to tie him up with the mortar. She was unable to find a long rope to accomplish her task of tying him up. She tied together many small ropes, but with sharp ends, but still it was falling short by a couple of inches. So there was always a gap of 2 inches, irrespective of how long the rope is. She found out some more rope and joined them, again 2 inches short. After many tries, she felt very tired. Don't I even have the rope to tie you down? Feeling sorry for Amma, Krishna took pity and smiled. Lord Krishna allowed himself to be tied down to the mortar. Kannenun Shirittambinal Kattunna Panniya Perumayan is the most mysterious and wonderful Lord who allowed himself to be tied down by the illiterate mom. Before leaving Lord Krishna, Yashoda told him, escape if you can, after tying him down. And after Yashoda left, Krishna took the butter he had inside the mortar and ate some of the butter also from the mortar. Then Vedanta Desika in Gopala Vimshati mentions Parivartita Kandharam Bhayena Smita Pulladhara Pallavam Smarami Vidapitva Nirasakam Kayoschit Vipulolukala Karshakam Kumaram. Parivartita Kandharam Bhayena, with bhayam, with fear, he was looking behind so that Yashoda is not noticing. He is a Bala Gopala. He is already tied down to the mortar and it's a massive weight. So he turns his head behind in fear of the mother. Although with a blossomed little nice sweet cute smile, Smita Pulladara Pallavam Smarami, Punmurvalale Malarnda Adarattai Udayavan. Because of the smile, the bloomed lotus like lips, the red coral lips with a smile, because he knows that he has cheated and deceived his mother. So our Vedanta Desikare says, I recall in my mind that he is still a boy, too small to pull a large weight mortar, the oral. And he crawled pulling the mortar, and he went through the 2 trees. Yamalarjuna Drishtabala Kelim, Yamuna Sachika Yavanam Yuvanam. Yamalarjuna Drishtabala Kelim. He gave a gentle hug. He went in between the 2 trees. There were 2 Yamala Arjuna trees. The 2 trees had grown very close to each other. Krishna went to the other side of the tree. In between there is a gap. So he just stepped through the trees. But the mortar cannot come. So he gave a big push to the mortar and both the trees came down crashing. So Kubera's son, Nala Kubera and Manigrava had been cursed with a shapam to turn into these trees by sage Narada, because they were in an intoxicated state. They had 1 quarter, so they had misbehaved with the sage. The sage took pity on them and he said they would be freed from the curse when Krishna would be born, and he will pull a mortar between you and he would send them toppling over. And per the words of sage Narada, his ardent Bhakta, the 2 sons of 2 Kubera were freed from their curse. So Yamalarjuna Drishta Bala Kelim, Yamuna Sachika Yavanam Yuvanam, all this Yuva, all these childhood plays were witnessed by river Yamuna. So this beautiful incident, unknown to the sons of Kuberas, the two asuras had also possessed the trees. It seems there were two asuras which were in the trees, waiting for an opportune moment. So when it toppled, Lord Krishna freed the sons of Kubera from their curse and also killed the two asuras who were in the tree, who were climbing on the tree. So though the two asuras were killed by the Lord, their bodies were not found because they came in contact with the mortar, which had Bhagavat Sambandham, as it was tied down to Lord Krishna. The killing of two asuras is sung by Periyalvar. Kummayattodu vennai vizhungi kudar Thaiyar Aachi Parhi Poimaya Marudana Asurarai Pondruvithindru Nee Vandai இம்மாயம் வல்ல பிள்ளை நம்பி உன்னை என் மகனே என்பர் நின்றார் அம்மா உன்னை அறிந்து கொண்டேன் உனக்கு அஞ்சுவன் அம்மம் தரவே. After getting to know these pasurams, after getting to know that these asuras were killed by Krishna, now Yashoda is worried and scared to even feed him, to even breastfeed him, because she is worried that he might even kill her. So when they heard the thud of the two trees falling down, the people rushed to the spot where they heard the trees crashing to the ground. Their fear was removed when they saw baby Krishna playing and smiling at them, revealing his kutti pal, tiny teeth which were still growing up, because he was only few months old. The teeth shone with brilliance, and the rays from the teeth also enhanced the shine from the smile. Vishnu Sahasranama sage Sri Parasara Bhattar, who was Ramanuja's Shishya Kuratalwan's son, Parasara Bhattar, named after sage Parasara of Vishnu Puranam. He mentions in Vishnu Sahasranamam commentary that this act of Krishna, when we hear the name Damodara, the one with the rope mark on his waist, Damodaran means Dama Udaran, the rope mark on his waist. That means the one who brings joy to the Devas. The name Damodara reminds that the Lord allowed himself to be tied down. It shows he is easily accessible to devotees. The Shastras state that, like I mentioned last week, whatever we think, we become that. Whatever we say, we become that. When we meditate upon Lord Krishna tying down to the mortar, our tying down to the samsaram will be removed. So the Shastras are going false here. They are going down south. This is against the Shastras. So Swami Desikan very nicely says that this Tatkratu Nyayam, that which you do, which you say you will become, is going false here, because that when you hear the story of being bound, Kanna being bounded by mortar, being tied down by mortar, our samsaric bondage will be removed. So the citizens of Gokulam decided to move their residence to Vrindavan, because there are very many accidents happen. Asuras come, try to kill Kannan. So let us shift Krishna clandestinely, secretly to Vrindavan, which is nearby. So Vrindavana is like a thorny forest, and by Lord Sankalpam it now turned into a beautiful, fertile, amazing pasture land. Perumal wandered through the forest of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is Tulasi Vanam, wearing a garland of forest flowers in the company of Lord Balarama. Vedanta Desika mentions Vande Brindavanacharam, the one who wandered and loitered in the forest of Vrindavan. So one day Lord Balarama did not accompany Lord Krishna to the forest. So Krishna decided to use that day to discipline. There was a poisonous snake by name Kalingan. The poisonous snake by name Kalingan. Some people state that as Lord Balarama was the incarnation of Adisesha, Krishna went without the Adiseshan, without that snake, because Lord Balarama would sympathize with, take pity on the snake. So that is why he did not want to take Balarama on that day. So now Krishna went without him because Lord Krishna felt that he would take pity, he would sympathize. So it is more apt to say that as a true devotee, Lord Balarama always watches over Lord Krishna and worries about Perumal as he performs very dangerous tasks, very risky adventures. So Krishna made plans to visit that Yamuna reservoir. There was a Madhu, a pond from the offshoot of Yamuna river, which was stagnated nearby in Vrindavan. And this was poisonous because of the residence of serpent Kalinga. So Krishna now went into the Kalinga, went near that pond. So it is not meant for human use, because whoever goes near, they would be inhaling the poisonous air and they would fall dead. So the boys noticed that all the trees on the shore, on the banks of that reservoir, were dead except for one tree which Krishna wanted to climb. Krishna looked at the tree, and that is why it became fertile. This tree became fertile. It had all the leaves and the flowers. So Krishna climbed on the tree, and the tree is alive because of the kataksham from Krishna. And now he jumped into that mud, into the pond. But there is another agreement why this tree was alive. There was another story. There was a peace agreement between divine snakes and Lord Garuda. The snakes had to worship Lord Garuda and make peace, samadhanam, offering to him the Garuda in the form of food. In return, Garuda said he will not attack the Nagas. Kalingan was unhappy with this agreement. Kalingan ate the offering which was meant for Lord Garuda. Lord Garuda came to know about this Garuda. He decided to discipline Kalinga. So he hit Kalinga with his wings and sent him flying. So fear entered into Kalinga's heart and he ran for his life. Kalinga heard about a pool, a small reservoir in Vrindavan, which cannot be entered by Garuda, because there was once a rishi called Shaubari who had many fish as his friends. The rishi lived in Vrindavan near the pool. One day the rishi found the half-eaten fish bodies scattered around his ashram. He felt very sad to see the dead body of his friend fish. He looked up at the Arjuna tree and spotted Lord Garuda there. The rishi wished to protect the rest of the fish from the pool. So he cursed Garuda that Garuda will perish if he entered the area near the pool. So Kalingan took shelter in the pool at Vrindavan because Garuda cannot enter, because Garuda wanted to respect sage Shaubari's curse. So that was a story. So that is why the Arjuna tree was still live. So Lord Krishna decided to drive the snake away because all the trees near the pool died. All the cows and calves and gopikas cannot come near. So Arjuna tree was unaffected, and hence Lord Krishna wanted to dive into the pool from that tree. And because of the Tiruvadi Prabhavam, of course, the Arjuna tree also became more live, more blissful. So as soon as Lord Krishna dived into the pool, the snake, annoyed that his peace had been destroyed, Kalingan was annoyed. He appeared out of the water and tried to tie down Lord Krishna with his long body and the tail. He tried to squeeze Krishna's body with his tail, with his body, like the Malapambu. The other children rushed to inform Yashoda. Soon everybody from Vrindavan arrived, worried about Lord Krishna's safety. They were simply overwhelmed with grief. They lamented, they cried. They saw Lord Krishna floating on the water, held within the serpent's stomach, the body. Lord Balarama also came now. He prayed to Krishna to stop pretending as a human child and control the snake. He prayed in his mind. So immediately Lord Krishna jumped upon the snake's head, one of the head, and he held the tail of the Kalingan. So there were many thousand head Kalingan, very many heads. So when he stepped on one of the head and held the tail of Kalingan, he was so ferocious. So he moved sideways to step on, and each and every head came up to kill Krishna. So he jumped on the other head when the other head came near him. So he jumped on the third head, and the fourth head, and the fifth head. So he danced a particular style called Rechakam. And Krishna's all the watchers, the spectators, they all were enjoying Krishna's dance, the Kalinganardhanam. Kalingan's wives appeared before Perumal and performed Sharanagati on behalf of their husband. They begged the Kutti Krishna to spare their husband, Kalingan. And as soon as Perumal consented to spare Kalingan, the snake Kalingan addressed Lord Krishna. Here we need to enjoy the Kalinganardhanam, because whenever somebody dances with the footwork, what happens? The stage is stable, whereas only the dancer moves around the stage. Whereas here the stage also moves. The heads kept on moving one after the other, and the dancer also moves. So multi-combination of two movings. That's the beauty of Kalinganardhanam. And now Kalingan, having been freed by Krishna, he prays, he addresses, he performs Mangalasasana to Krishna. He says, how blessed am I, how lucky I am, how fortunate I am. What a bhagyam to be disciplined by you. Common folks may mistake this episode, this anecdote, by thinking that you punished me. But actually, you blessed me, Krishna. I had been very foolish and gave into the ego, arrogance, misconception that I was made to take birth as a venomous snake. I am only doing my duty by poisoning the environment and other creatures around me. I thought I was only doing what nature intended, but you have shown me today that all I did was wrong. Perumal pardoned, forgave Kalingan because he sought forgiveness, and he asked him to move out of Vrindavan. He promised that Garuda would not harm you anymore, as the Lord's footprints are now displayed on the snake's heads. Such was the beautiful way in which Krishna's Kalinganardhanam is enjoyed by all Alvars. So our Alvars have lost themselves in the story of the Krishna being tied down to a mortar and Krishna dancing on the Kalingan. These are all beautiful pastimes of Krishna, When we think of these transcendental stories of anecdotes of Krishna, we are completely bereft of any papams, any sins. We would not be worried, we would not be struck with further sorrow, grief anymore in our lives. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Dhanyosmi.